Hello there, today's video we're going to look at constraints. We're going to look at the large variety of constraints used in Autodesk Inventor and how we can apply them. So the very first thing I need you to do is load Autodesk Inventor Professional. So double click on that. Once that loads, we're going to open projects, so select your project, and then we're going to press new, standard MIM, so in millimeters, not MIM, millimeters, IPT, create. From here we're going to start a new sketch, so up the top left, start new sketch. This is always required before you start drawing. Now we're going to select this first plane here, the XY plane. Now we're going to start doing a drawing. Now generally you wouldn't do a drawing like this because I'm making all the lines off parallel and not perpendicular. The reason for this is just to show you guys the whole range of geometric constraints and then a few ways to use dimensional constraints after that. So the very first thing I want you to do is start with the origin in the middle. We're going to click there. We're then going to come below the horizontal line, click there. We're then going to come back up and not perpendicular like that. Like there, then we're going to come back to this point, click and left click and hold, and drag up and around and around and around, just like that, and stop. Then we're going to go back down again not vertical, back up again, and we're going to come down, and we're just going to finish short there, like that. Once you've done this, press escape. Now before I continue, escape and Control Z are probably going to be your most used commands, so make sure you've got your left hand on those buttons. Now you should all have a mouse. It's a lot easier to drive Autodesk with a mouse. And the last final thing is, during this video I recommend that you play the video, then pause the video, follow some of the steps, and then go back and watch some more of the video, and then pause again. I find this is the easiest way to follow a demonstration. So from here we're going to start learning how to do some constraints. So I'm going to start from the left and work my way around clockwise. So for this line here I want a horizontal constraint. Now there's two types of constraints. We have geometric constraints. So for example, a horizontal line, making this line tell the line that it has to be horizontal. And then we have dimensional constraints, which give a line a certain distance or radius. Now one thing which is very important is that these green lines represent that this drawing is not constrained. What that means is that if I click and drag these lines, that it's going to change shape like that. So we want to constrain it, so once it's constrained it'll be all purple. So first thing I'm going to start with a horizontal constraint. Now, if any time that you're not sure what a command is, just hover over it and then let it load. So there's my horizontal. You can see the text comes up there. Then I'm going to select this line, and that created that line horizontal. And then for this one here, this one I want perpendicular. So this here should be 90 degrees. So I'm going to go to perpendicular constraint, which is next to it. You can see the drawing illustrates that there. So click the bottom line and this line, and there we have a perpendicular constraint. Now a tangent's an interesting one. Tangent means that the radius meets the next point at 90 degrees. That is a tangent. So you can see this one here added an auto constraint as I was drawing it. So if I try and add a tangent constraint, it'll tell me it already has one. Sketch constraint already exists. So I will add a tangent constraint on this side. So I'll select this line and you'll see what happens. Now where the radius ends, it's 90 degrees to the next line. The next thing I want to do is create a parallel. So this means if I hover over it, two lines which are running in the same plane, same angle. So these two lines here I want running vertically, so I'm going to select this line and this line. Obviously there's more than one way to do this. I'm just trying to show you the whole range of different applications of these geometric constraints. Now before I continue, I'm just going to press escape there. And if you guys can draw a circle too. It's going to draw a circle there. Now the next constraint is going to take this circle, and if you can see that little center point dot here and here, I want them to line up. So in order to do that, if you can see up here, the two circles, that looks like it's a concentric constraint. So that'll make the two middle points the same. So I'll select that. Then I'm going to select this circle here and the arc here, and that will move it concentric constraint. Now this line here, I want it horizontal, so I'll press horizontal, and I'm going to select that line. That makes that horizontal. And now the next point here, this line here, I want to make this line 90 degrees, so perpendicular, or you could use vertical. I'll try vertical. There we go. Now I also want the distance, press escape there, the distance of this line and this line to be the same. So I'm going to press equal. So this makes two objects same, so you go two circles exact same or two lines exact same. So I'm going to press this line, and now those lines are exactly the same. So now if I grab this line and drag it, you can see both of them change length at the same proportion. Now the next one I want to put in is I want from this center point, I want this line and this line to be equal distance. I don't want this one to be further out. I want this one to be the same. So I'm going to draw a center line. To draw that, press line. We're going to go back to the origin, make sure it locks on green. Click there. I'm going to click up, press escape. And now I'm going to right click. So right click on that line and choose center line. Oh, click it first, sorry. And then right click, center line. Change this one back to line, so click that, right click, untick center line. So we got a center line in here. So this next constraint is symmetric, just like it sounds. I want this line and this line to be symmetric from a center point. So I'll make it a bit more obvious for you guys. So down the bottom here we have symmetric. So I'm going to press symmetric. Then I'm going to press two lines I want to be symmetric, and then you press the center point. So this point here. There we go, press escape, and I'm just going to demonstrate that. So you can see those two lines move at the same time. The second last constraint I'm going to put on is I'm going to select this coincident constraint, and that's going to allow me to move a single point to another point. There we go, so now that point lines up. Now if you ever want one line to be in line with another line, we can use this constraint up here, which is called collinear. And you can see via the illustration there what it does. So I'm going to press that, and we can see I want this line in line with this one. So I'm going to press this line with this line, and that will line that up. Now you might be wondering, we've only got two dark blue constraint lines which don't change dimension, and the rest is green. So one way to test that, if you're not sure why it's still green, you can click and drag it. So I've done all the geometric constraints we can. Now we just need to add some dimensional constraints to show the size of this drawing. So I'm going to first add the total length. So select dimension, click the bottom left, then the bottom right, then come out and type in 20, enter. I'm then going to change the dimension from here to this point, type in 10, and then I'm going to choose radius of this, and I'm going to make that 4, and I'm going to make the radius, the diameter of this circle 2. And then we have a fully constrained sketch. So if I click and drag, nothing's going to move. And if you see, well, when I click on the line, it shows all the different constraints which are applied to that line. So from here, I'm just going to finish the sketch. Then I'm going to extrude that sketch, so press extrude, select the face. Now you could always select the hole too if you want that. If you want to get back that whole hole, control down and then find the hole and click. Now I'm going to make that 12mm and press enter. Well, that does it for showing all of the geometric and dimensional constraints. I hope that video was helpful. Hopefully you remember one or two of those, or even more if you really paid attention. But if you ever get stuck, you can always come back to this video and reference one of those geometric constraints. Thank you.